The following show contains spoilers for Mortal Kombat. Hello and welcome to We Can Survive That, your survival guide to the movies. I'm Jack. Today, oh no, I've not got my notes up. Wait there. Bide for some time.
Today, Jack does not have his notes up, and that's what we're going to be covering in this episode.
Thanks for covering. Today, I'm joined by a man today I'm joined by a flawless victory of a man. It's Chris. There we go.
I felt like a trial to get that out.
Yeah. I didn't have my notes up, and you've cursed this podcast by being in a different room in your house, so the phone signal is weirder.
We've been over this. The phone signal's not weirder because it's running off internet, and I'm right next to my router. So if anything, this podcast should be the clearest audio quality to date.
That's not what I'm getting, although maybe that's just the way you're talking. All weird.
Yes, I'm talking in a weird, distorted way.
Yeah, although you're from Kent, so it can't be helped, Chris.
Oh, damn. Okay, let's see how it is. I challenge you to Mortal Kombat.
Oh, dear. Well, yeah, because we're talking about Mortal Kombat, aren't we? From 2021. The new film.
Yes.
From director Simon McQuoid, I think is how you say it, who doesn't have much on his IMDb page apart from this and a short film that he did. You've been wanting to talk about this for a while, Chris, Mortal Kombat. It's only just come out in these here parts, so this is basically going to be the Chris show, as I just let you run loose talking about Mortal Kombat. What is it? What do you think? Just talk for about, 40 minutes, and I'll just sit here and listen patiently.
Okay. Well, first, when talking about a film like this, you've got to compare it to Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the greatest video game adaptation movie that we've ever had. No, of course not. Don't be ridiculous. Mortal Kombat 2021 is a reboot of the Mortal Kombat franchise after the abysmal Annihilation film. And does it hit the mark? Sort of. Was it the film I hoped it would be? No. Was it crap? No. It's somewhere just slopping in the middle. And the idea of the film is it sort of rewrites some of the Mortal Kombat lore and history to explain things differently. But Mortal Kombat is essentially a tournament between protectors of Earth, and Outworld or Netherrealm, where Netherrealm wants to invade Earthrealm, but they can only do that if they win 10 rounds of Mortal Kombat, 10 tournaments of Mortal Kombat. This was set up by the Elder Gods. And this film is meant to be leading up to the 10th tournament. This was meant to be a planned trilogy, this film being pre-tournament, then a tournament, then post-tournament. And the film introduces us to a new character who's not in any of the video games, Cole Young, who is one of the worst characters I have ever seen in a movie, and one of the most generic characters. It's him, his wife, and his kid, and he's a cage fighter who fights for low sums of money because that's all he can do. And the only way he could be more generic is if he was estranged from his wife, which he isn't. He's married to her in this.
For now, at least. I'm sure now, in future films he might be divorced. Who knows? But yeah, is he not in any of the games then?
No, he's a totally brand new character who's made just for this film, and the whole point of his character is basically to explain Mortal Kombat to people. He's and there's an official term for it. You probably know what it is, where a character's essentially just there to help explain things to the audience.
Oh yeah, they call them a Cole Young. That's
okay. Yeah. This is who this character is. Not in any games. There was speculation. Maybe this guy's going to be Johnny Cage, and he's going to take the name Johnny Cage at the end. He isn't, thankfully. At one point in the film, I did fear he was going to be Scorpion. Again, he wasn't, so thank God for that as well. And yeah, he's not a great character. And some of the other characters are a bit wibbly-wobbly as well. This film's essentially carried on just 3 characters, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Kano. Everybody else is not that great, unfortunately.
Well, there is a big cast. I'm surprised you're this negative on it, because I really don't have that much bad to say about it. There is one scene that kind of troubled me, but from like a technical standpoint, it's the midpoint fight where all of the champions from Outworld come into Raiden's temple and are like, okay, we're going to kill everyone before the tournament starts, and then just invade Earth early, and everyone's standing in the sandpit, and then there's a couple of cuts, and then everybody's spread out all around the temple doing one-on-one fights, and then their plan to get revenge after they survive the attack is to basically repeat those one-on-one fights, except this time they win.
Yes.
That's my
Yes, poor writing on that part.
That's my one big nitpick about the film. I thought Cole was all right as a character. Yes, he's not particularly a standout character, but I think maybe in the second film you could probably kill him off, and then the focus shifts to Johnny Cash, not Johnny Cage.
Cage.
Oh.
It's Johnny Cage.
Damn it.
Johnny Cash is a singer.
I know.
Singer-songwriter.
He's good songs. I like his music. Maybe replace Johnny Cage with Johnny Cash.
Yes, get Johnny Cash in there.
I think he's dead. I'm sorry.
He is, yes. He passed away a few years ago.
Yeah.
And another thing this Mortal Kombat film does, it rewrites some of the lore. Cole, when we see him, he has a tattoo, which is like a scar tattoo of a dragon's head, the Mortal Kombat logo on his chest.
Yeah.
He was born with this, and it's revealed later in the film that Cole was a descendant of Hanzo, who is Scorpion, and the mark was passed down through his family. And if you have this mark, you're basically picked as one of the champions of Earthrealm to defend it in Mortal Kombat. And along the way, we meet all the other people that have these marks as well. And if you have this mark, I forget the name of it, but it basically grants you magic powers. And this is how they go about explaining the various abilities and powers that people have from the video games in this movie anyway. What do you think of the dragon tattoo scar power thing?
I mean, I don't know anything about Mortal Kombat and the original lore and the games and that sort of stuff, but I thought it was a fine way to introduce like the more mystical elements and powers and stuff. It also gave Sonya Blade an arc in the story as well, that she is probably one of the more competent fighters, but she's barred from entering the tournament because she doesn't have the mark. She's put together all the puzzle pieces, she's worked with Jax, but she's barred from entering the tournament because she doesn't have a mark. And maybe she does want a mark, maybe she doesn't, but then she has to beat up Kano, and then she gets a mark and proves herself, even though she didn't really need to prove herself. She could have beaten most of Earth's champions, apart from like Kung Lao maybe, but I like that Kung Lao's got like a swagger about him, that he's bigged up that he's the one that's probably going to save Earth, but then he gets killed, and that's a devastating blow to the team because everyone sees him as the most skilled fighter and stuff, and he's got that cocky swagger, and he's taken out. So bit of a pride before a fall kind of situation there.
Also, it sets him up beautifully for the next film to return as a revenant. It's a thing in Mortal Kombat where characters are killed and they become revenants. And Kung Lao does become this in the game as well, but so does Liu Kang. I mean, pretty much everybody dies at some point in the game and comes back.
I mean, yeah, it's part of the course. The violence in this film, did you like it? It was bloody and splattery and deliciously gory.
Yes, I did like it, and that's what you need in a Mortal Kombat film. You know, the franchise is famous for its over-the-top violence and stuff, which is what they do in this film. I think the fighting in this film was very good. The violence was all great. Some of the special effects, especially the whole CGI on Goro, who's the big guy with the four arms,
with
was
Matt.
weak.
I'm familiar with him.
You're familiar with Goro? I don't know how familiar you are with the characters on this.
You know the Mortal Kombat films? That's my familiarity. I think
that's fine then. Okay.
I think Goro kind of looked like a orc from one of the Hobbit films, but with four arms. Was this
Yes.
Warner Brothers?
Yes, it is Warner Brothers' own NetherRealm Studios. Yeah.
Did they do the film?
I thought this was New Line Cinema.
It might have been, but
it might have been Warner Bros. As well. I'm not sure.
It felt like a Warner Brothers film. Although New Line, they did the Hobbit, didn't they? So maybe that's where. I don't know, I'm getting Warner Brothers vibes, but I can't be sure. But yeah, he looked a bit like Azog's brother or something. It was
yes, I know exactly what you mean on that. Yes,
it was kind of weird. I didn't mind it. It didn't take me out of the film. It wasn't like Reptile from the first one where it looked totally out of whack. I am a little upset that they not wasted Goro, that they blew their load with Goro in such a small way. They could have left him for the second one. There's a few teasers to him, but they didn't have to use him straight up. Although I suppose people would have been upset if he hadn't shown up at all.
I mean, they might have done purely because Goro shows up in the first Mortal Kombat film. I mean, if they're willing to do this film and not have Johnny Cage in it at all, and just tease him at the end in a poster, they should be willing to do that with Goro as well. Unless they were just like, oh, we need to bring in some more well-known villain characters to try and get people who aren't completely familiar with the franchise sort of involved with it.
Yeah, because Sub-Zero was the only villain that I really know of. The whole Sub-Zero Scorpion stuff was really good. All of the fight scenes were done well, but I think the two with Scorpion and Sub-Zero were the best of them. And again, they were supposed to be. They're longer and given more screen time.
Yeah, exactly, and they're the standout performances, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, but also Kano. I really enjoyed Kano's character throughout all of this cocky mercenary guy who's he gets his mark and becomes Earth's champion by accident. He kills a guy who's wearing the mark and then he receives his. So he doesn't want to be a champion. He wants nothing to do with it. He's happy just to walk off and let whatever happen. So he's sort of forced to start training for Mortal Kombat, and I really enjoyed his character all the way through.
Yeah, he is a linchpin in this. It wouldn't have worked as well without him, because it would have just been a bunch of super serious people glum that they have to fight in a tournament, otherwise the Earth will be destroyed, and he adds a certain levity. And, he's a snake, so he encourages some of the action with his double cross towards the middle of the film as well. So yeah, I'm sure we'll see him again in the next film as well.
He's dead.
Well, they'll bring him back probably with that metal plate over his face.
Yeah, I suppose they could. I was wondering if he was going to get the metal plate when Reptile shows up in this film, and unlike the '95 one and the video games, rather than it being a guy in a green ninja outfit, this is just a reptile. And then Kano fights it. Kano, Sonya, and Cole fight Reptile, but Kano's the one that eventually defeats it, and he gets a scratch across his face. And I was thinking, is he going to get the metal plate over his face now? But he never gets a metal plate. He gets his laser eye, but no metal plate, unfortunately.
Well, he gets a gnome in the eye, so I think when they do bring him back, they'll slap a metal plate over it.
The only person I know that's signed on is Joe Towsum. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name. The guy that plays Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero does die in this. He's defeated by Scorpion and Cole. Well, that sets him up to become Noob Saibot, which is what the first Sub-Zero does when he dies. He's resurrected as this sort of black-cladded ninja called Noob Saibot.
Chris, I don't think they're going to replace Sub-Zero with the weird-sounding Noob.
Well, because they can bring him back as Noob Saibot, and then that is Sub-Zero. His younger brother steps up and becomes the new Sub-Zero.
Yeah, they can, but who's going to take a villain seriously that's called Noob?
Everybody that loves Mortal Kombat. This guy is going to be awesome. He's going to turn up and he's going to, mess everybody up. It's going to be great. And then the younger Sub-Zero, his younger brother, who will become the new Sub-Zero, who becomes buddy with Scorpion. And they can explore that later in the films.
Chris, I've never heard anyone go, what's your favourite character from Mortal Kombat? I've never heard anyone answer that question with Noob.
I guarantee you, if you put a poll out and you put him as one of the options, he will get a considerable amount of the vote. Noob Saibot has been in this since the second game. He's one of the long-standing characters.
Fine. I will do a poll on Twitter and ask it if Noob Saibot is anyone's favourite character. We won't get a lot of responses, but we'll see how that goes.
But I will make sure to be that one response saying yes.
Okay.
I always pick Noob Saibot, which, funny, Noob Saibot's actually the creators' names are reversed. It's Noob as Boone and Saibot as Tobias.
Yeah.
So Ed Boone and I forget the guy's first name, something Tobias, the creators of Mortal Kombat. It's their surnames reversed.
Oh. So a totally serious character then, and not just a weird Easter egg.
He's a totally serious character. You should see him when he turns up in the later games. He's very aggressive.
Look, well,
I mean, everybody is, but he's very aggressive.
Yeah, because he's called Noob, so he was probably picked on, so he had to be aggressive to stop the people making fun of his silly name. Look, I would like a sequel. I'm kind of glad that they didn't go straight into the Mortal Kombat sort of tournament aesthetic, because they still made this work as sort of like building that Outworlds are a bunch of cheaters and low lives, and they're not to be trusted and they're real bad. So yeah, I liked it. Well choreographed. Like you said, some of the characters are a bit dull, but other characters proper good, and we'll like to see more when they come around. So watch or don't watch, Chris.
Yeah, I'd give it a big watch. Yeah, it's definitely worth a watch, and hopefully it can jumpstart this new rebooted franchise, because I think they've got a lot they can do with it if they are able to get it off the ground and make more money. Last time I checked, the film cost $55 million to make, and it had made back $50 million. But that was before its UK release, so hopefully now it's made more and they'll greenlight the sequel.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. Now,
oh god, now what?
Survival stuff. Given that we don't know who's coming back in the sequel, and I'm guessing most of the dead people will be revived by evil sorcerer man. Survival tips for any of them?
Okay, so survival tips. Kung Lao, don't get grabbed by Shang Tsung and have your soul sucked out of you.
Wow.
Kung Lao can teleport. We see this at one point in the film when Sub-Zero's entered Raiden's sort of temple, and Liu Kang's like, oh my god, what am I going to do? How am I going to fight this guy? He's made of ice. I only have fire. It's pretty obvious, but Liu Kang loses his nerve anyway. And Kung Lao turns up and he does this cool teleport out the ground, spinning around. It's awesome. Why not use the teleport more? You've killed one of Shang Tsung's sort of, I forgot her name. It's a big fluffy bird lady. I'm not familiar with her character at all. I've never seen her before.
Don't ask me.
No, it's fine. But he defeats her, and then he should just teleported his way out there, unless he was feeling cocky and he was like, you know what, I can take Shang Tsung now. Yeah, which he clearly couldn't.
Yeah, I think that was he'd bought into his own hype, and he got himself killed by missing the throw with his odd job hat. Is his power the teleport thing, or that he just got given a really sweet hat?
I think it's both. That the hat is what enables him to teleport, probably in this universe. I think it's the hat is what's given to him, because he can call the hat back to him and he can make it spin on its own and stuff like that.
The hat is Thor's hammer of the Mortal Kombat world.
And in this universe, yes, essentially, the hat is Thor's hammer, which is pretty cool. I like his hat.
If he be worthy, he may possess the power of hat.
Kung Lao's like, yes, I am. Which is, I want to know how his hat came to him, because you get your marking and then your power activates. So Kano, when he shoots a laser out of his eye, Sonya, she can fire these sort of purple rings off of her wrists. Cole, when his power finally activates, it's an armor that it comes with like bandages almost to begin with, how it wraps around his body.
It's a weird rubber suit.
Yes, it is weird, and I panicked when this first came up, because I thought, oh no, please don't be a yellow ninjutsu outfit, and his power is that it becomes Scorpion. If it was, I didn't know if I was going to be able to finish the film. Luckily it wasn't, but his grows like out of his trousers and wraps around his body. So how did Kung Lao's happen? Was he there and his hat just grew out of his head, and he's like there screaming as his hat bursts out of his head and like lands on top?
Maybe he was wearing a baseball cap, and the baseball cap turned into a big razor hat.
Oh, so you reckon he had a baseball hat or some other hat of some sort on his head, and it just popped out?
A fez.
He was wearing a fez.
A bowler
he was
hat.
At a Doctor Who convention.
He was.
And then it pops out.
Yeah. No, he used to work for a bank, and he wore a hat and a bow tie, a bowler hat, and then he got sucked into this fighting tournament, and then he beat a man to death with an umbrella, and the umbrella turned into a hat.
Oh my god. I mean, obviously that's not what happened at all.
No.
Because it's explained in the film that Kung Lao and Liu Kang's both their abilities activated while they're training at Raiden's temple in this little sand pit they were using against each other.
Yeah. One of them was a banker, and the other one was a chartered surveyor.
I don't like your backstories you're giving to these characters.
It's canonical now, Chris. Any other deaths that stand out? Because there's a lot, but I don't think any of them will really stick. So, any fatalities that you think you could survive? Maybe how do you survive the hat buzzsaw thing?
Do you know what? I'm glad when he done that, because I've performed that move on players in the game, and I've had that move performed on me as well. The only way you could really stop it is as your body is being pushed towards a spinning blade, you need to reach out, because the hat's only sharp around the rim of it, like you said, odd job style. So you'd have to put your hands out and left and right, grab either side of the hat and hope it doesn't tear the skin off your hands with how fast it's spinning, and stop it before your face touches it.
Yeah, I'd say try and roll out of the way, but if you rolled wrong, it cutting you in half or just cutting your head off.
Exactly, and in the film, the bird lady, God knows what she's called, she couldn't roll away because Kung Lao was riding her like a surfboard.
I got like Legolas riding the shield down the steps kind of vibes.
Yes, exactly. Which I thoroughly enjoyed, which is great because I love seeing that, and the head getting split open. I was like, yes, this is what Mortal Kombat is. Which then also added to the surprise when Kung Lao was then had his soul ripped out of his body. It was like, oh my god, how did that happen? He was kicking ass a minute ago.
Yeah, exactly. It builds up the threat, Chris.
Also, I like the way how when he does throw his hat at Shang Tsung, he just sort of tiniest tilt of his head to the left, and the hat completely misses. I mean, I don't think he needed to move his head as well, because of the way the hat was going, I think it was going to miss regardless.
You want to be sure, don't you, Chris? You don't want to take a razor hat to the face, do you? It's a risk.
Exactly.
It's a risk not worth taking.
And the great thing about Kung Lao is the actor, how he performs all the moves as well. Even from throwing the hat, how he raises his left arm and his right leg up, it's identical to the game. So I think the actor for Kung Lao did a very good job with mimicking all of the moves as well.
What a nerd putting effort into his acting job.
I know. It's almost like he took time to study his character.
What a loser, Chris. I disapprove of any effort to make a decent portrayal of a video game character. Just look at what
I knew you would.
Just look at what Van Damme did with his performance in Street Fighter. He should have just done that. He should have put on a a Belgian accent and just would have been very confusing for any Kung Lao fans.
No, be like, oh, what the hell's wrong with Kung Lao?
No. I'm glad then that they took the time to focus on the little details, so fans like yourself, Chris, can appreciate the little details that bring you
the little
joy.
Details.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the biggest fan service that happens in this film, which in universe doesn't really make any sense, but it was a whole fan service, is Scorpion's "Get Over Here" moment. It's probably the most famous thing for Mortal Kombat. Is Ed Boon screaming "Get over here" when he did the voice of Scorpion. So in this, Scorpion's obviously Japanese. He speaks Japanese throughout the entire film, apart from the one scene where he screams "Get over here," which is in English.
Maybe he learned it down in hell.
That's what fans have been saying. That's their theory of why he could do it. But it still doesn't explain why he would scream it in English and then continue to speak Japanese before and after. So there's no logical reason for it in universe. Obviously, it's entirely just fan service, because if you didn't have Scorpion screaming "Get over here" in it, people would have lost their minds and the film would have bombed horribly.
I mean, I'm slightly upset that he didn't say toasty. So that's upset me a little bit. I think that would have taken away from the impactful moment at the end of the film where he finally vanquishes his foe that he dragged himself out of hell to face once again in Mortal Kombat in a weird icy gymnasium.
And after he burned him, just went, "Toasty!"
Yeah.
Yes, that would have taken away from it.
Yeah, not quite the right tone for the film, yeah. But I'm interested to see if Scorpion does come back, whether he'll be fighting on Earthrealm side, or because technically he's more of a Outworld character, isn't he? Because he's from hell or whatever.
He is, but he's also like Kano. He is an original Earthrealm champion. There's different versions. There's ones where Scorpion dies and Shang Tsung resurrects him, which is what happened in the 95 film. So then Scorpion was fighting with him alongside Sub-Zero.
The bitterest of enemies, now allies, or whatever the line was from that film. Just a bit of extra texture to the film that actually adds nothing, but is there just as a wink and a nod. The bitterest of enemies, now forced to be best friends.
Work together, yes.
Yeah, until Mortal Kombat Annihilation, where they have a little bit of a punch-up and then both of them just disappear. Never to be seen again.
If they get the sequel to this, 100% they're going to have Scorpion back into it. 100% Sub-Zero, whether it's Bihan who's been resurrected just as normal Sub-Zero or his younger brother being in it, because I think, especially if they don't have Scorpion, they're going to be missing out a lot on there. Yeah,
no, they'll continue that, I reckon, yeah. No Noob Saibot, hopefully, Chris, because that's silly. Chris,
I want Noob Saibot.
Chris, how do people get in contact with us about Mortal Kombat 2021 edition?
Oh, well, they can email the show at wecouldssurvivethat@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter at wecouldssurvive. And then if you listen to this episode on YouTube or whatever, you can leave a little comment there at the bottom.
YouTube? I haven't updated YouTube in months.
Oh, okay. That's fair enough then. Well, in that case, just use Twitter or the email. Challenge us to Mortal Kombat. We'll meet you in Lord Raiden's training temple, which wasn't a great temple. I didn't like it. I didn't like Lord Raiden or just Raiden in this the whole way through. I thought the effects on his teleporting were fine. I thought the effects on his eyes was stupid and didn't work at all.
Yeah, it was a little weird. I think they could have gotten more characterization out of him if his eyes weren't glowing the whole time. We could have got a fuller picture of the actor's expressions and stuff. But yeah, he was fine. We'll probably see more of him in the next film. So yeah. Chris, next week, one more video game film. Resident Evil Village came out. So let's do Resident Evil 2 to celebrate.
Everyone's going to be moaning at this moment. Resident Evil 2. It's one of the worst ones out of the whole franchise.
Yeah, you're going to watch it again and you're going to love it though, aren't you?
I don't think I... Oh, God, when he turns up as Nemesis. Oh, no.
Well, you'll get to relive that moment and many other classic moments, I'm sure. I haven't watched the film yet, so I'm going into it positive, Chris. I'm positive it'll be an excellent rom.
I like the first film. You didn't like the first film, if I remember correctly. So if you weren't a fan of the first film, you're going to absolutely loathe the second film.
No, I've changed my mind. I've decided that I like crap films now, Chris, so get ready.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, you can have a whale of a time on this beauty.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody who's been listening to We Could Survive That, your weekly survival guide to the video game adaptation series. We're going to see you next week for another one, Resident Evil 2. But until then, keep on surviving.
I was going to say, we didn't actually decide a winner between Mortal Kombat, Tekken, and Street Fighter, which was the point of this trilogy of reviews until Mortal Kombat got delayed and we had to fill time with The Quick and the Dead and what did we do last week? Love and Monsters. So
so we got to decide a winner now.
Yeah, it's Mortal Kombat, isn't it?
No, it's Tekken. Obviously, quite clearly, it's Tekken. And of course, it's Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, okay. This wasn't an afterthought at all. We thought about the trilogy, and then we took a 2-week gap. Okay, that is the end now, Chris. I'll see you whenever.
Okay, thank you, and good night, everybody.